So every NBA team thinks they're one piece away, but they're all missing different things. Because this summer, multiple Hall of Famers could be on the move. The Lakers are leaving the door open for LeBron, looking to re-sign Reeves and must acquire a long-term big. Meanwhile, the Celtics, Thunder, and Nuggets all have decisions to make about their current core. That's why today we're revealing one problem every team must fix this offseason. Let's get it. Welcome back to another edition of the Hampton Show. Joel, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling great.
Absolutely. Today we're revealing one major problem every NBA team must fix this offseason. First team up is the Houston Rockets. The one thing that they need to fix this offseason is their win now pressure. And I think that involves trading Kevin Durant. No one can argue that Twitter debacle split their locker room, and it's the right time to trade him now because it takes that pressure off of them. It eases that young timeline.
I think they just need a point guard and some more spacing. They probably aren't going to win a title with Kevin Durant, but I also just think that trading Kevin Durant makes it so much tougher offensively for Amen Thompson and Alperen Sengun. This is a team that they already struggle with spacing issues. Every time Sengun gets the ball in the post, he's seeing two on the ball. KD is getting trapped. And it definitely helps if Kevin Durant is an offensive player on that team, because then if he's still there, the type of defensive pressure that Sengun and Amen are going to be seeing isn't going to be the same. I think what they really need is just like a point guard, which Fred VanVleet being healthy can maybe help that a little bit, but I think they need like a true reliable guard, like a Drew Holiday or somebody else that can space the floor and defend, just to give this team more to work with offensively. Because if you trade KD, I'm a little bit worried about what the Rockets can even get back for Kevin Durant, and it might just make them worse. And you're trading Kevin Durant, who's still a top 10 player in the league, because you're sold on a young core that you might not, or you shouldn't be sold on. Like, Sengun has a lot of flaws. Amen Thompson can't shoot. Like, those players, you need to be sure that they're going to develop and their trajectory is going upwards. And I feel like trading Kevin Durant right now, it just puts them in a worse position to see their potential realized. So I just think that they need more spacing. They need more shooters, just so it's not so easy to defend them offensively.
Makes sense. Moving on to the Indiana Pacers, not getting their own pick after the season they just went through was the real crime earlier in the season. Now going into the offseason, you have to do whatever you can to get a wing for the future next to Tyrese Haliburton, because not only did you give up that pick, you gave up Ben Mathurin. Yes, you got a Vincent Zubac back in that trade, but Hallie and Zubac alone is not going to be enough to compete in an Eastern Conference that now has New York as a potential reigning NBA champion, the Boston Celtics coming back at full strength, and the Cleveland Cavaliers coming back as well. Detroit Pistons, they're going to make some moves. So I think the Pacers need to find some switchable wings around Hallie, and they'll be right back in the mix.
I think that's a good one. This need to be healthy. I think with Haliburton, just making sure that he's ready for the season. I know that he got shingles, and that's kind of like it's been like a joke on social media and stuff, but it's probably like it is serious. Yeah. Haliburton just needs to be healthy because they have a good team. Like, on paper, this should be one of the better teams in the East. Haliburton wasn't the only player that was really hurt for Indiana either. I mean, Andrew Nembhard was hurt early in the season. You had injuries to Nesmith. They traded for Zubac, and he didn't play for when he was on the floor. Pascal Siakam was like the only kind of like consistent player for them that was actually available like every single night. But they have Haliburton, they have Nesmith, they have Nembhard, they have Siakam, they have Zubac. This is one of the most talented teams in the East. They just need Haliburton to play like the version of himself before he went down, and hopefully that his career is not going downwards. It's still in an upward trajectory, because he just makes the game so much easier for everybody else. And I do think that they are like a team that can use another wing, like you said, but I don't know if it will come this offseason. More so like that would be like a midseason trade to like push them over the top. But I think that right now they just need to focus on being healthy.
And the positive side of all this too is Halliburton elevates others like no one else. So I think they will be able to do more with less. It's just surefying up that 8 to 9 man rotation where they can be competitive in the playoffs, because we saw it last year. Nobody predicted them to go to the finals, and they did. Moving out to LA with the Clippers, speaking of health, I think they need a healthy offseason just as much as anybody else. Darius Garland coming off a year where he didn't play the entirety of the regular season. Kawhi Leonard coming off a career year, his best year in half a decade, but he needs to roll in just as healthy as he was last year, especially if they want to be competitive.
This is an interesting one because the Clippers have done a great job with the assets available to them, acquiring young talent and rebuilding. Because now they have Mathurin, they have Darius Garland, they have Kobe Sanders and Yannick. They have your top 5 pick, exactly. So what they do with that pick is kind of like my biggest question for them. It's kind of like that is what's going to set the tone for the offseason, because are they going to draft a point guard? Because after the top 4, the point guards that are the best in the class are going to be available there, and it seems like those are the best players available. So are they going to draft a point guard with Garland still kind of like entering his prime, or are they going to draft like a big man because Zubac left and they have a hole there, and they're probably going to draft like an Ade Mara and trade back. So so that to me is like, that's what I'm looking for with the Clippers. And I wouldn't rule out a Kawhi Leonard trade. I know that Kawhi wants to be in LA and he probably doesn't want to get traded. But for the Clippers, if you're going into this like youth movement, it does make sense to try to maximize your assets for Kawhi, because they don't have much things to rely on for the future, like outside of this 5th overall pick. So that's kind of like what their offseason is going to be predicated on. But I think the fact that they have the 5th overall pick, they have kind of set themselves up in a good position.
Yeah, because the way Steve Ballmer operates too, like you can't rule out trading out of the number 5 overall pick for something that's non-draft capital related either. You brought up the idea of a Demara trading down, but even just trading out for a player return, it seems like Steve Ballmer constantly wants to push things to the future. It wouldn't be a smart move to make, but it would be a realistic move that Steve Ballmer would be interested in. Sticking in LA, the Lakers probably have the busiest offseason out of every single team on this list. They need a long-term big next to Luka. They need to make a decision on LeBron James. They need to make a decision on Rui Hachimura. They need to make a decision on Austin Reeves. All 3 of those guys I just named are free agents, and what price they get each at is going to determine whether they can keep all 3 or not.
I'm bringing back LeBron, I'm bringing back Rui, and I'm signing and trading Austin Reeves for a center. That's what I think my Lakers offseason plan would be. Reeves just gives me concerns about like how healthy he can be in the playoffs, how he can handle physical playoff defenses. And I feel like off the ball, like off the catch, he's not that efficient of a shooter. So I understand Luka likes playing with him, but the amount of money he's asking for, I just don't think that he's worth the money that he's asking for.
I agree. I don't want to compare him to Tyler Hero, but defensively it wouldn't make sense next to Luka, and the counter would be Luka and Kyrie worked out. Well, the Mavericks had pieces around those 2 guards that the Lakers aren't able to put around them, especially with the LeBron James wrench thrown into this. I think LeBron hinders and handicaps the ability for the Lakers to go out and build a team like Dallas. Not to mention, if you built a team like Dallas, I don't know if that survives this Western Conference. And that Dallas team never won a title. People want to say and, pat that team on the back for making the NBA Finals. Is an incredible run. But the fact of the matter is, this is a very different Western Conference than it was in 2024.
Yeah, no, it is. And you have so many talented teams like OKC, the Spurs. Those are the teams that you're thinking about beating. And whenever that's the case, you have to build your team in a way to where you match up with those teams. So, you're not going to match up with the Spurs with Jackson Hayes and Ayton being your centers. And you're not going to match up with OKC with Austin Reeves and that defensive ball pressure. So they need to find a way to like build a team that matches up with those 2 teams in the West. And that's their biggest question for the offseason.
Moving on to the Memphis Grizzlies, the one thing they need to focus on is maximizing the draft. They have 2 first-round picks, obviously number 3, but rumors are flying about trading back up into the top 10, and I think that would behoove them to go ahead and grab a guard of the future, no matter who it is. Yes, you can pick Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson, whoever you want to pick at number 3, whoever is left. But I think trading back in the top 10 is essential, especially because you don't know where these assets are going to land with the new lottery rules. And an all-time draft like this, I think maximizing the draft, especially with a GM like Zach Kleiman, would be the route to take.
Well, that would be a great draft for the Grizzlies if they can draft, one of the top 3 prospects. It probably is going to be Boozer, and then they can also trade back up and they can draft a point guard. I feel like the Grizzlies will have their core set for the foreseeable future. So that would be really good. I think that you're right. That's what this offseason for them is about, just maximizing those draft assets because they have a good amount of young talent. They have Zach Edey. They have such a coward. Ty Jerome played well. I still classify him like somewhat young. So the Grizzlies are not in a bad position by any means, but they just have to hit on their picks. They can't have a Hasheem Thabeet moment here.
Exactly. The picks that they have right now is 3, 16, and 34. If you could package 16 and 34, maybe throw in a player to a team in the top 12 or 10, I think that would be enough to move up. The Miami Heat is the easiest one on the list. They need a franchise star like Giannis Antetokounmpo.
And it seems like the Heat players, maybe they're trolling us, but a lot of them have seemed to unfollow each other. Like Tyler Hero, I think, unfollowed the Heat. I don't know if it's fake or not, but I saw it somewhere.
His brother also commented a buck too on a Milwaukee Buck on his Instagram picture as well. Speaking of the Bucks, the next team on this list, one order of business they have to do is obviously to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo. Moving on to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I said it earlier in the Knicks segment. They need a reliable secondary star, not named Julius Randle.
Yeah, they need to keep Anthony Edwards happy. And definitely seeing Cat win a championship in New York is not going to be the way to do so. I feel like if that happens and Cat wins a championship, the timeline is going to get sped up tenfold because now Anthony Edwards is kind of pissed off. His second option got traded and won elsewhere when they could have won in Minnesota. And they made the trade to re-sign Naz Reid. Mm-hmm. And in hindsight, Naz Reid is a good player, but you don't trade away your franchise star so you can re-sign your 6-man. I think that's where Minnesota, for all the amazing moves they made, I think they kind of fell flat a little bit on that one, in hindsight. But you can also understand their perspective. Dealing with the luxury tax, it would be a second apron team. Having Ant, Gobert, Cat, and McDaniels making all that money, they wouldn't have any depth behind them. So it made sense from Minnesota's perspective because you have seen a lot of these teams that make runs like this, they have a lot of depth. Like the Knicks right now have a lot of depth, and Minnesota just wasn't going to be able to have that amount of depth if they kept all 4 of them. So they kind of were pigeonholed into trading Cat, but nonetheless, as Anthony Edwards probably isn't the most nuanced and salary cap stuff. He's just looking at it from the perspective of Cat got traded, he just won, and my team doesn't look like they're close to the Spurs or OKC right now.
And that's exactly how he's going to look at it, too. He's the most unedited superstar in this league, and he will 100% tell the front office what you just said. Moving on to the New Orleans Pelicans, the number one thing they need to fix this offseason is what direction they're going in. Choose and make it clear to the media, is Zion Williamson a part of this franchise's future or not? I know that they have said they're not willing to trade him. Well, either start building around him properly or move off of him and maximize the assets you get in return. I think with this lottery reform, it definitely minimizes the chance of moving off of him, but let's start building around him properly instead of trading for guys that do not make sense around him.
Yeah, that isn't going to happen with the Pelicans. The Pelicans don't know what they're doing, and I feel like they have 3 players that really would help other teams in different ways. Zion Williamson could be a star on another team and can live up to his potential. I believe so. I'm still bought in on Zion going to the right situation and turning his career around.
What team could he fulfill his potential of being a number 1 overall pick, a future Hall of Famer that everybody bestowed on him before he has done? He has yet to win a playoff game. He does not make any of his teammates better around him. And even if you did build perfectly around him, I don't see you getting out of the first round. What team would he actually, quote, fulfill his potential on?
The Heat, the Hornets.
What would the Hornets have to give up would be my first question. The Heat, if it's just the Heat as constructed now with him, Bam, and Andrew Wiggins, like
Hero.
That's not a top 4 team in the East.
It's still pretty talented. Like I think the Hornets, they would just have to give up Miles Bridges and a pick. Maybe 2. That's it. But I think Zion is still a star. Trey Murphy is a great 3-point shooter. He can average 20. Like, imagine if the Spurs, instead of trading for Fox, traded for Trey Murphy instead. Like, I think that would be better for them. Like,
that's valid. My point is, Zion's not a number 1 option on a playoff series winning team.
I disagree, but we'll see. We'll see what the future holds for Zion. As long as he's on the Pelicans, listen, you're going to be right. Yeah. That's as simple as that. But if he ever goes to the right situation and he's not completely washed, then I think he will prove you wrong. But then the other player is Herb Jones. Like, Herb Jones is one of the best defenders in the world. He's had injury troubles recently, but he's somebody else that can help out a team tremendously. So the Pelicans just don't know what they're doing. And really, like, I don't know what the direction they go in. It just, they don't make sense anyway.
Yeah, and the fact that, I know I keep bringing up opening night, but Jose Alvarado did not play behind Jeremiah Fears, and I can't remember who the other guard was, but DeJounte Murray wasn't even playing. And the fact Jose Alvarado couldn't find time on this roster it's just not right. And no matter what the Pelicans do, you're right, it's not going to change anything. We just disagree about Zion and his future. Moving on to the Atlanta Hawks. They need an offensive guard for the future next to Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Dyson Daniels. I know you think they should sign C.J. McCollum. Hopefully they could find something in the draft because I believe they have a top 15 pick. I don't know what that would net them, but ideally they need to replace some of the offensive production that Trae Young left them.
CJ needs to re-sign. If CJ doesn't re-sign, I'm kind of worried about the Hawks next year if they don't fill that position. If the regular season, they'll be fine. I think they have enough. They play with enough energy and transition offense that like they'll juice out the regular season. But in the playoffs, Jalen Johnson still can't be a lead like half-court initiator.
He's going to be an All-NBA player next year, and I can't wait.
It doesn't change the fact that in the half court, he cannot dribble past defenders and consistently get to his spots.
That could change next year. He will be an All-NBA player. He was an All-Star this year. The next leap will be an All-NBA player. There's a reason that The Athletic pulled 181 current NBA players, and the majority of the vote, the number 1 finisher on the underrated player vote was Jalen Johnson. There's a reason his peers feel that way. I don't know why Joel feels the way he does, but there's a reason that his peers view him as the most underrated player despite being an all-star. That's how good he is. This is a guy who damn near averaged a triple-double in his 3rd year in the NBA, and you still sit here and knock him for what he did in the first round of the NBA playoffs against an all-time Knicks team who has not been beaten twice in a series outside of the Atlanta Hawks.
Those lists would mean something to me if they didn't say that Halliburton was the most overrated player in the league. So to me, it seems like there's a trend. Overrated players on those lists tend to be underrated, and underrated players on those lists tend to be overrated. Jalen Johnson, to classify him as the most underrated player in the league, I mean, he's not even better than OG Anunoby. Like, OG is better than him.
That's ridiculous. It's prisoner of the moment. We see what's behind you.
He's averaging 23 in the finals.
I know. He's going to be the finals MVP, but would you rather build a franchise around OG Anunoby or Jalen Johnson? It's an easy answer. Let's be serious.
Who contributes to winning more? It's OG Anunoby, and that's what matters at the end of the day. Like, Jalen Johnson, you're just ignoring his flaws. They won games because of C.J. McCollum, not because of Jalen Johnson.
He was an all-star. The reason that the Hawks were even in that position was because of Jalen Johnson.
Who is the best player
CJ McCollum being a veteran player, playing in multiple playoff games, yeah, he might have had an edge and showed up in big moments, but Jalen Johnson and the gravity he had provided CJ McCollum those moments.
What gravity?
What gravity? He averaged 23, 12, and 8. What are we doing?
In the playoffs?
In the regular season, but that is gravity. You don't think that he's number 1 on the whiteboard against the Atlanta Hawks in the first round series? What are we doing?
No. In
The
transition,
Knicks were
yes.
focused on Jalen Johnson. They didn't
In
go into that series
transition.
like, oh my God, we gotta stop CJ McCollum.
Well, that's what they had to do. Yeah, after the Hawks won, they
Yeah.
had to focus on CJ. Like Jalen Johnson in transition, he's a focus, but in the half court, it's kind of well known that he's not that good in the half court.
He will improve this offseason. He will eventually be an All-NBA player. And I don't even remember how we got into this conversation, but I just can't wait to buy you a Jalen Johnson jersey. It's probably going to be for Christmas, or if I see you in Vegas, we can stop there too.
If they don't re-sign CJ, they are going to regress.
I agree. There is not an answer in free agency. There is not an answer at where they're picking in the NBA draft. They need to sign CJ McCollum. We'll see if it's good enough to surpass what they did this season, but I think the only way they do that is if Jalen Johnson does the things that you say. If he does what I believe he will do and becomes an All-NBA player. Let's move on to the Boston Celtics. This is easy. Affordable contributors next to their superstars, preferably a big. I wrote down names like Mitchell Robinson. I wrote down names like Nikola Vucevic, re-signing him. Just affordable guys, big guys that they could have next to Brown and Tatum.
Yeah, just a center position. I think that the Celtics are pretty much set everywhere else. Mm-hmm. They just need a center.
Yeah. As we cross the halfway point, I'm going to name 4 teams. You tell me what stands out. Nets, I put re-sign or trade MPJ. If you re-sign them, sell high on them. In the February trade deadline for the Hornets, I put perimeter defense. For the Chicago Bulls, I said surround the 4th pick with the best team possible. Cleveland Cavaliers, switchable wing. Any of those stand out? Any of those teams stand out?
I think those are all good. I think those are exactly what I would have as needs for those teams as well. Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's move on to the Dallas Mavericks. The number one thing they need to fix going into this offseason is deciding, is Kyrie part of the Cooper Flag era or not? What can you get for him? And is the return worth more than just keeping Kyrie on the team next to Cooper Flag? Because they need a point guard. That's the biggest hole on this roster, and Kyrie fits that.
That's why I think they should keep Kyrie Irving. All of the trade offers don't make any sense to me. The Pistons are going to be a suitor, at least right now within like fans. They're like a suitor for them. And the package is always like, we'll give you Ron Holland and Karis LeVert and a first. And to me, if I'm the Mavericks, it's just not worth it. Like, I'm not going to take a first-round pick that's probably going to be in the 20s, and I'm not going to take like Ron Holland who can't shoot, and like the Pistons young players that don't play or can't play in the playoffs. Like, that's not meaningful to me. I think the best way to go about it is letting Kyrie Irving play, and within the first month or two of the season, he will clearly show if he can play at a high level or if he cannot play at a high level. And if he shows that he can play at a high level, now that value goes up. Now what you can trade for him goes up. And I think that's the best way to approach it if you want to trade him. But coming off an ACL injury at his age, it doesn't make sense to trade him right now in the offseason when teams are still very much like hesitant to how he will return.
100%. Sticking in the West, Denver Nuggets put defensive durability. It's time to find a more reliable defensive player than Aaron Gordon. He is crucial to that team's defense. He's a reason they are world champions, at least in 2023. But it's time to move on. He breaks down every single playoff run, and they need something more reliable than putting all of the defensive pressure on a guy who cannot stay healthy.
They need more athleticism. They need their young players to take steps forward. Christian Brown needs to be more of the version of himself we saw 2 seasons ago than last season. He needs to get back to playing defense at a high level and playing with that energy. Peyton Watson, I like the leap that he made. He wasn't available for the playoffs because he's about to get paid. He didn't want to risk an injury, which I get. But then I'm looking at Day'Ron Holmes, so I feel like is an X factor. Day'Ron Holmes, draft pick out of Dayton, who was supposed to be high flying, who had a season-ending injury in summer league. He is somebody I'm looking at as somebody in year 3 that can make a big impact on this team, because what the team is missing is young athletes. Mm-hmm. And they have like a foundation there with Brown, Watson, and Day'Ron Holmes. They just all need to live up to their potential and what they can be.
100%. Detroit Pistons, you brought them up as a Kyrie suitor. They need that secondary star. I think they're going to be in the Kyrie Irving market, could be in the Austin Reeves market, as you said, potential sign and trade for Jalen Duren. There is a lot of snooping around that they're going to do. I'm interested to see what they do at during this year's free agency and NBA draft. Anything that comes up besides secondary star.
Yeah. And the more I think about the Pistons and how they've built their roster, the less I feel as if they're going to trade for a star, because after last season, which they surprised everybody, their offseason was replacing Malik Beasley and Dennis Schroeder with LeVert and Duncan Robinson. They made like these little moves to get a little bit better, and I think that their move this offseason is going to be signing CJ McCollum. I think they're the team that is going to pry away CJ McCollum away from the Atlanta Hawks. And CJ isn't a like star no more, but I do feel like he can still average 20 a night. I do think that his veteran presence would really help Cade Cunningham. And because Cade is a bigger guard at 6'6", you don't have that same concern with having CJ with a smaller guard like he was with a Damian Lillard with. So I think that CJ McCollum, like a move like that, is perfect. And with Tobias Harris's contract expiring, they can just take away Tobias's money, put it into CJ, and then CJ could be part of their team. And now you can have CJ, Cade, Asar, and fill up that fourth spot with somebody else.
Yeah, and the thing that this team struggled with in the postseason was the Cadeless minutes. And if you can replace that with the CJ McCollum, we saw what he did with the Atlanta Hawks. I love that potential move for Detroit. 20th team on this list is the Golden State Warriors, another team in the secondary star market. Whether it's a LeBron James, a Giannis Antetokounmpo, or a Michael Porter Jr., they've snooped around with all three of those guys. Golden State remains as the number one non-Laker contender for LeBron James. They are, as we speak, are pitching LeBron on playing with Steph Curry, on playing with Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler. And they're the closest thing to LeBron's family in LA if the Lakers can't afford to pay him. Giannis Antetokounmpo, they're by far the most desperate team in those sweepstakes. It's them and Miami, but Golden State has more draft capital than Miami does. So it comes down to what Milwaukee values in those potential trades and what Giannis values in those potential moves. Michael Porter Jr. is a guy they called about in February. I thought this would be an excellent plan B or C if they strike out on Giannis. It seems like it would give them some youth, some defensive versatility, and what we saw from MPJ in Brooklyn last year is all the reason they should go after him this summer.
So you think that's a lineup that could compete?
It could compete more than what they're doing. This team has been a play-in team multiple years in a row. That's a top 6 team in the Western Conference, for sure. Steph Curry, Michael Porter Jr., Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler coming back. If you re-sign Chris Stapps or not, whatever you do there, Al Horford. I think a team with Steph, Jimmy, MPJ, and Draymond can compete, yes.
As long as they're healthy, I could see it too. Jimmy Butler, just how is he going to come off that ACL injury? The Warriors need to do something because I really don't want to see them waste Steph's final years. But it really just feels as if they've run out of ammunition. It's just there's not many buttons they could still press right now. And I'm hoping that they figure something out. But right now, I'm not that optimistic.
Oklahoma City Thunder, I put health for them. Jalen Williams was absent pretty much the entire year. He needs to get healthy. Chet Holmgren needs to not be what he was in the Western Conference Finals. I think it's still way too early to overreact to what happened with Chet. At the end of the day, they lost their number 2 offensive option in Jalen Williams, and they lost, I think, their number 3 offensive option in A.J. Mitchell. I want to see this team at full strength before I think about trading anybody on this young core. Do you agree there?
No, yeah, exactly. I feel like, if you can get Giannis for Chet, then you think about it. But overall, like, OKC went to 7 games with the Spurs and they were injured. They didn't have J-Dub or AJ Mitchell, and they could have still won Game 7 had some a little things just like went differently. So it's not the time to just like panic completely. Yeah. It's not like, they're still clearly good enough. They just weren't healthy enough.
That's why I wouldn't even think about the Giannis thing. I think Giannis, why his market has slowly dried up, you're not seeing any of the packages that you would have seen a year ago, is because people are seeing his unreliability. The last 3 years, he hasn't been able to finish seasons. I know this year there was a lot of different type of circumstances going into that, but the reality is when they made the postseason, he was not there to play in those series, and replacing Chet with a guy that would most likely be on the bench in the postseason would not behoove them whatsoever. The Orlando Magic going back east, they need all the shooting they can get. They went out and gave up a ton of assets to get Desmond Bane, but I think they need more of it.
No, yeah, I agree. I think that Jalen Suggs might become somebody who's expendable just because, like, you can't have 3 to 4 non-shooters in a lineup. I understand Suggs, he provides so much value defensively, but with Suggs, Franz, and Paolo, you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage spacing-wise. And if you're building the team around Paolo and Franz, it makes sense to replace Suggs with the player that can actually shoot the ball. So I think that is like their big thing this offseason, like what they're going to do with Suggs and how they're going to add shooting to the team. But yeah, it seems like they're going to run back Franz and Paolo. I just think you didn't see them enough health-wise to kind of move off of either. I think this upcoming season will be the last season together, though.
I agree with you. We talked about De'Aaron Fox's contract to start this podcast. You want to guess what Jalen Suggs made last season?
$40 million.
$35 million. He was 22% of the cap. The good thing about how his contract is structured, it goes down from here. It goes to 32, 29, 26, 26. However, that's still a lot of money to pay a guy who's might not even be your third or fourth option on your team. I agree they need to move on from Suggs. Philadelphia 76ers, they need to move on from Joel Embiid. They need to kickstart what the future of this team is, and the future of this team is Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. Free agency is going to be, they're going to have their hands tied with it, but they need to find a way to get off Joel Embiid's money, in my opinion, whether that's waive and stretching. I think they should be more desperate to waive and stretch Joel Embiid than the Bucks should be desperate to waive and stretch Damian Lillard like they did last offseason.
It's weird because, I mean, the only reason the Sixers won a playoff series was because of Embiid, because of his return. I feel like at this point they're so deep into the Embiid era that you kind of have to just see it play out, have to wait until his contract expires, and just keep building the team hypothetically around, like, if he's healthy. Because it's not like a bad idea. You're still surrounding the team with good players, and if Embiid is healthy, you'll have a chance. So I feel like that's what they need to do, just like making sure that they have the proper depth. Because more than anything, I thought that in the playoffs, their like bench 7 to 10 is just like so weak.
Yes.
And they need more players they can rely on in those moments. And if they have better depth, then now you can withstand like Embiid not being healthy in the regular season and still being one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. So I think for the Sixers, it's really just about adding depth to the team and then just hoping that Embiid can be healthy.
Yeah, and this version of the NBA is not how it was in the 2010s. It's not just throw together 3 All-Stars and Joe Smo is, guys 4 through 6. It's depth. You're seeing that with OKC. You're seeing that with San Antonio. You're seeing that with the Knicks. And my counter on the Joel Embiid wave and stretch is this team was a top 6 team in the East without Joel Embiid for most of the season. Yes, they won that Boston series because he came back. However, they also got swept because he came back. He was horrible against New York, and you cannot rely on him in the regular season or the postseason. And I feel like this version of the roster with Joel hit its ceiling by getting swept in the second round, so might as well move on. But I definitely hear what you're saying. I'm going to name these last 7 teams, and you let me know what sticks out to you. The Phoenix Suns, it's a point guard next to Devin Booker and Dylan Brooks. They're not interested in John Morant, according to reports. Interesting pickup there. Doesn't make sense. You know what Jalen Green is, at least, like John Morant you could talk yourself into. But I'll move on. Portland Trailblazers, they need to fix their half-court offensive problems, especially in the postseason. Sacramento Kings, they need to have one competent offseason. That's all they need. San Antonio Spurs, they don't need much. If you were going to say something, maybe another 3-and-D wing. I don't know. Just need a little bit more shooting and a guy that can defend, just reliable three-point shooting. Toronto Raptors, half-court shot creation and shooting. Utah Jazz, they need to hit a home run at number 2, which won't be hard. Washington Wizards, they need to make a decision on both AD and Trae Young.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head on all of those. I think with the Wizards, they're probably going to run it back. I mean, not run it back, but I think they're going to let the AD Trae Young experiment play out. Mm-hmm. And we'll see. We'll see how good they can be with a lot of the young players having more experience and AJ DeBanza coming to town. Maybe they could be the surprise team of the East.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Trey has a player option this year, then he'll be unrestricted free agent next summer. AD's the same way. They're both going to want contracts. So how they operate this summer with both of those guys, it's going to be walking a tightrope with their representation, especially with how aggressive their agents will be. And who knows if AD even wants to be there. No matter what, it's great that they have the number 1 pick, though. Joel, really appreciate you taking time, and can't wait to talk next week. Hopefully the Knicks are NBA champions.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you for having me on.